You'll like this if the concept of kind of giant man-eating mutant goldfish and lots of like goldfish themed monster horror appeals to you. Hello everybody, and welcome to another horror manga review video. This is going to be a little bit of a different video. I'm not just going to be picking a particular horror manga title and reviewing it. This time I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about what I'm reading right now. That's going to be things that you can go pick up on Amazon right now if you want to find some newer horror manga to read. A lot of the horror manga that's out there, a lot of the Junji Ito, the Hideshi Hino, it's either reviewed to death so everybody knows about it, or it's older stuff that's really difficult to find these days. And I'm going to be talking about stuff that is relatively new and very easy to get your hands on, and that you may not have heard of if you're not keeping up with what's coming out right now in the world of horror manga. So the first title that I'm going to talk about today is Blood on the Tracks. This is quite a popular series lately, and one that a lot of other manga review YouTubers in general have definitely been talking about to no end, and that's for good reason. It's because it's fantastic. This is one of my favorite kinds of manga, where it's not about, you know, the action with a little bit of horror. It's not about like this big convoluted drama with a little bit of horror. It's really about horror. It's a horror manga. It is definitely more subdued than some other horror mangas. It's not about big bombastic panels with high detail of gruesome monsters or deaths or anything like that. It's about the horror of having a mother that is potentially not all there and may have some sinister qualities to her, and the sort of internal struggle of her son as he deals with the horrifying truth of who his mother really is and what she's really capable of, and this weird battle between his fear of his mother and the really unsettling, creepy ways they depict her, and that's sort of juxtaposed against his affection for his mother and his really his dependence on his mother, and it just follows his life as he has to deal with this sort of internal struggle, and it just puts him in all of these really uncomfortable, really creepy, sinister situations. And this artist is phenomenal at depicting what I would almost call like intimate personal horror, where it's how close he brings you to these other characters, how he illustrates their expressions in really believable ways that really conveys the horror of this series. And some things that you wouldn't think would be creepy are just made to make you feel a chill to your core in this, just by the glance of a character in certain lighting and things like that. And this author has done this sort of work in other series, though my understanding is not to the same extent of like that horror area. It's usually more about sort of anxiety and this weird closeness to other characters. But after getting a taste of it in this, I'm definitely going to be checking out other manga by this author, because it is amazing and the artwork is absolutely beautiful. So the next series that I'm going to talk about is this. This is Maruko Chan. And this is a series that actually started as a Twitter comic. It was this mangaka had created, I believe it was just one little short story that was a couple pages of his idea of a story of a girl who can see monsters but doesn't react to them because she doesn't want them to know that she can see them, so that they might, you know, do even more horrifying things. And that kind of blew up, and he literally got a publishing deal off the back of that tweeted comic. And so this is his series, which is an ongoing series now. I believe there's 3 volumes out, and I know there's at least a 4th volume that you can pre-order online. And this series is kind of like Seeds of Anxiety and things like that, where it's short chapters, very quick to get to the point, and they're all about the monster. They're all about that reveal panel where they show you the crazy ghost, the creature that is designed in some interesting way, and it's drawn very like heavy contrast, creepy, detailed monster artwork. So if you're mostly about the shock panels and just those monster reveals, this is a great title for you. One complaint that I do have about this series is that you can really tell that it was a Twitter comic that got turned into a whole series. That being that there isn't a lot of real narrative or character building or anything like that. It's just kind of, here's an excuse to show you a monster, now here's another excuse to show you a monster, now here's another excuse to show you a monster. And personally, I've only read the first volume so far. I've got the 3rd volume already, but I've been waiting ages for the 2nd one to show up, so I haven't gotten further into the series. But by the end of the 1st volume, the last couple of chapters actually did kind of show a bit of growth in the storytelling, and I'm hoping that maybe it slowly transforms from just a sort of Twitter one-off over and over again repetitive kind of story to something that maybe gets a little more fleshed out, has a little bit more of like a consistent running narrative through it, or at least some kind of you know, interesting feeling in the stories themselves beyond just here's another monster. There's one story in here towards the end involving Maruko Chan's family that is particularly a little bit on the heartwarming side, as well as having the usual monster scares. So I'm enjoying this so far, and I'm really excited to see how it evolves through the other volumes. So another one that I've been collecting for a while, and I believe has actually wrapped up, but I decided to include it in this list because it is a newer series, and it's one that you can get the entire series of for really cheap on Amazon still. It's basically still just at its release price, and that is Shibuya Goldfish. This is a really wacky, wild, crazy series. I have not read through the whole thing yet. I've read the first few volumes, and the rest of them just came in the mail, so I've got, I think it's 11 volumes total or something like that. I've got them all now, so I'm gonna binge read the whole thing. But this is kind of the equivalent to like a schlocky B horror movie. You'll like this if the concept of kind of giant man-eating mutant goldfish and lots of like goldfish themed monster horror appeals to you. If that sounds like something you'd be into, then you will like this series. It's just crazy, it's weird, it's not the best horror manga I've ever read, the story isn't the best I've ever read. Even some of like the scary panels are not, you know, they're not Junji Ito panels, but just for a crazy wild ride and just another horror manga out there that is definitely trying to be, to some degree, actual horror as opposed to just like an action thriller with like vampires in it or something. It's nice to just see more horror titles translated, so this is a fun one to pick up for relatively cheap if you just want some crazy giant goldfish gore action. So the next one I've just picked up recently is Zom 100. And this is a sort of like action shonen horror series about zombies. And to be honest, I haven't read it yet because this here is volume 2 and I ordered volume 1 around the same time and it still has not yet shown up. So I'm still waiting for volume 1 to come in the mail, and I've got more volumes beyond 2 also on order, and I've got the next few chapters pre-ordered. I looked at the artwork, I really enjoyed the style of it. It looks really like poppy and flashy, which is very different from most like zombie horror manga, and I don't know if I would even call this necessarily a full horror manga, but flipping through it, like there's a good bit of gore, a good bit of monsters, a good bit of that sort of adult, edgy material, so I'm sure it'll fit right in with the horror manga collection, and once I read this, I will update you guys on what I think about it. So last but not least, the last series that I've been reading that is still relatively current and you can still pick up on Amazon is King of Eden. This is a really cool series. I I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it. In general, like, what appeared to be a sort of like zombie story, it's usually pretty overdone. I wasn't too sure if I was going to be into this. I didn't really look into any of the creators of it or anything. I just saw it on Amazon, saw it was a newer release, so I could pick it up for cover price instead of like these crazy print shortages where you have to pay $1 million for a volume of manga these days. So I decided to toss it into my cart with another order, and I really enjoyed it. And I picked up the rest of what is out right now, which I believe is up to volume 3, and I've got the next volume, volume 4, pre-ordered already. And this is a really fun series. As you would imagine, it is kind of a zombie story, though I say kind of because the monster involved is not necessarily a zombie. You could say it's kind of like a werewolf situation mixed with a zombie situation. It's its own unique kind of take on the whole zombie thing. And it's just a really fun read. It's got this sort of like political aspect to dealing with this like zombie pandemic. It's got this mysterious main character who's out trying to stop the spread of these zombies, and the whole while you're sort of piecing together what's going on. And I didn't know it when I started reading this, but looking into it afterwards, I found it was actually by the co-author of the series Monster, which is a very tightly woven, intricate, psychological thriller sort of manga. So to see that the co-author of that series was the author of this series kind of made some things make more sense. I found that for such like a simple premise of a zombie kind of political, you know, follow the clues and follow the bodies to find out what's going on kind of story, I was more engaged with that than I would typically be with that type of story. And that's because it just is a well-written series. It's not well-written in the sense of like, you know, high literature or something, but it's just, it keeps you wanting to read. I found myself just cracking open the next volume as soon as I finished the previous one, just to find out what was going to happen next. So I'm really looking forward to volume 4, and I would highly recommend King of Eden. And the artwork is also very beautiful. And it perfectly suits the story that it's telling. It's got this sort of cinematic, more of like a Western, like North American film kind of vibe to the art style and the pacing. So yeah, definitely check this out. Big thunder there. I don't know if you could hear that. So I am going to leave links down in the description below to all of these series in case any of you guys want to check these out, and they are going to be affiliate links, so if you guys do end up buying anything when you click through those links, it helps support me and what we're doing on this channel. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. And feel free to drop a like on this video. It really helps us in the YouTube algorithm. And if there's a particular video you want to see or something you want to see reviewed, leave a comment below and let me know what it is. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.